All right. I will say hello and welcome back to another episode of All About Balance. And today I am joined by Jesus. How long has it been? How long has it been? It's at least 5 years.
I'm just trying to think.
It's at least
I
5 years.
I think I saw you about 3.5 years ago for a couple of days.
Maybe. I was working at my new place. Anyway, I'm
Yeah.
joined by the one and only Wade Norris from Down Under. How's it going, my friend?
Yeah, not bad, mate. It's all right. How's it going up there?
I mean, I don't know whether it's factors worse than where you are, but I mean, let's start there. I mean, how has lockdown been in Australia? I heard it was fucking nuts for a while.
It depends where you are. So, we recently had one here in Brisbane over the weekend, but it was only for 3 days because apparently, I know some pommy pricks, brought their UK strain over, and one of the cleaners got it in the quarantine hotel, so they locked the city down for 3 days. We've now got a new mask rule whenever we go to a supermarket, which before that we were pretty good, but Melbourne had a lockdown for months.
Right.
So Melbourne's a lot more populated than Brisbane is. Brisbane's quite spread out, so we had gigs for a while here still, but
Wow.
they were, reduced capacity. It was really good for all the local bands. They could sell their 35 tickets and tell everyone online about how they sold out their shows.
Sure.
Trust me, there was every band, every show sold out.
Yeah.
And it was just, they were living the dream. But then capacities opened up, so they could stop. They couldn't brag anymore because the same amount of people were there.
Yeah.
But I mean, all in all, it's been okay. Except I guess for me and the band, I haven't even been able to get down to rehearse with mine because the rest of the guys are in Sydney.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's explain that a little bit more. So I mean, obviously your day job we'll get into, but your day job is not music yet.
Not yet.
Not
That's the
yet.
dream.
That is the dream. But obviously you're in a band, and do you want to just explain a little bit about the band?
I'll do the plugs.
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
Do.
so I guess we're sort of I guess metal with synths, so a bit industrial.
Rammstein-esque.
Yeah, like we're big fans of that, but we're the new album's sort of, I guess, all sorts of stuff. It's hard to explain, but it's loud, it's heavy, there's some yelling, there's some singing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the rest of the guys live down in Sydney, which is a long way away from where I live.
Yeah.
And I'm up in Brisbane. So generally the sort of plans for rehearsals and whatnot involve me flying down there for a weekend. We spend a whole weekend in a jam room, sort of as shows are coming up. And because I guess the band's been around 10 years before I even joined. So there was none of that, playing Wednesday night down the local sort of type shows. So it was sort of able to be done that way. But yeah, I guess the problem is with lockdowns, they can rehearse without me because I've sort of set them up because we use a synth track. So there's a guitar track they can rehearse to, but it's not the same.
No, of course
as getting in the room and being able to crank up. But I mean, we haven't been able to tour either. So it's sort of like, well, we can't rehearse, but we can't tour. So it's not like we have to show up to shows and play without a rehearsal. But it's annoying on a year that we actually planned on having a whole bunch of music come out, and we had a film clip come out just after the start of COVID. And, and then we had to put on the brakes hard. Because there's no point putting stuff out there if you can't go and follow it up with shows and pushing things further. You're better off hanging on to it.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's really, I mean, that's almost globally affecting for the music industry, right? Is that nobody can do anything essentially.
No.
I mean, there's been a couple of people that have done. I mean, these are like huge, globally massive name artists. They're doing like a streamed gig online, right? Like a YouTube streamed gig. But then they're making money from that based on the sponsors paying them. Nobody's paying tickets to go to a YouTube gig. Do you know what I mean?
No. Oh, I mean, there were a few that were. I know that Behemoth did one you actually had to pay for.
Okay.
So they would have made some money from that. But they're already globally recognized.
Exactly.
I mean,
huge band.
Funnily enough, even if we wanted to do that, we couldn't. Because we can't even get in the same state. So
yeah, true.
Like there have been some bands in Australia doing that, but a lot of the time it takes away from it, I think. because you sort of, unless you've got the sort of budget to be able to really pull that off and record everything really well, it doesn't come out like seeing the band live.
Do you think it misses?
Like,
go on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, some of them do come out really well, but then other ones, like, I guess you've seen like bands do where they're rehearsing in different rooms in their house, and and they're fun to watch once, but it's not the same as seeing them on a massive stage. It just sort of, like, it's content, but we're in an age of content for content's sake sometimes.
Yeah, and I think
like,
there's something
you have to keep
really
pushing that.
There's something really specific about the emotional connection that you have to seeing a band. Do you know what I mean? Like when you're in the crowd,
you need that audience there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like one of those things, like it'd be hard. Like the last gig we did before lockdown, we supported Perturbator on their tour out here. I don't know if you know them, but they're like a synthwave act from France, and they're very sort of it sounds like the music in Cyberpunk, to be honest.
Okay, sure.
It was one of those things where I'm like, oh yeah, they're pretty cool, but seeing them live, they were actually awesome. I really dug it. I didn't know how big of a fan base they had, but the show we played with them was sold out, and it was just mental to the point that, like, the fire alarms went off in the place from the body heat of everyone.
Jesus.
And so, like, like going from playing a show like that where it's absolutely packed to people who didn't know us, but by the end were getting into us, to going, okay, we could stand in a room with a camera. It's just, it won't be the same. But I mean, you have to do that at the same time. It's a real tough one. But we can't stand in a room with a camera anyway. We'd have to have 2 cameras set up in different states, and then somehow try to edit it.
Yeah, that'd be long.
Yeah,
you're not live streaming that shit.
No, well, you can't, because you've got the latency of sending the audio between states. It just sounds like it's a recipe for disaster. Yeah. To be honest, people just feel like, I don't want to see them. They're terrible. They can't play on time. It's like technology. It's the technology, I swear.
So what are you doing in the meantime? Because I remember when you were doing, when you were living in London and after you just moved, we were talking frequently about how you were essentially the go-to guy for all the production and the mastering and the compiling and the editing and all this kind of stuff. So
that was the stuff I was doing, I guess, with when I was trying to put a band together. So that was very much this is my hobby. You know, I am a lot better at that now than I was when I lived in London. Sure. But still, we ended up we tend to get someone else to mix us, just because I don't want to be mixing something I've played on. I need someone else's ears to do it. And also, I prefer to get someone with more experience than me to do it, to be honest. We ended up getting the guitarist from a band over here. You probably haven't heard of them over there. The band's called Super Heist. They were very big in the nu metal days. The guitarist did the mixing for us, and that's why it sounds so massive. It's just like, yeah, we're going to make it all sound huge. Compress it to hell, and it's going to be loud. I'm like, yep, sold. That'll work. And but yeah, so sort of like, I guess in the meantime, it's been weird this time, because normally you'd play the songs live and see what works best on a stage, and we haven't even been able to show anyone yet. I might have snuck you a couple, but but it's like we haven't really been able to show anyone yet. So everything's still really under wraps. So it's like, before we go too far ahead in writing the follow-up, we need to see which ones are the ones that, I guess, hit the best with people. Because otherwise, I mean, we could go write a whole bunch of songs like the ones we like the most, and then while, like, you've got to write the stuff that you like. At the same time, you need to also think, what is it that other people enjoy to listen to, and on top of that, like, what works the best when you're actually playing it as a band in front of an audience. Because then, it's about the audience reaction. Like, because I mean, some songs were like, oh, this song, people are going to love this. And you play it and they just stare at you. And they're like, oh, because, if they don't have it recorded yet to listen to, they don't know it. And they sort of just look at you confused and just go, well, that was different than the last one we heard. Either that, or they're just like, there might be a song where people start singing along and you're like, how? It's not out yet. but it's just catchy enough that it happens. So,
And how do you
I'm
find that balance?
See, I'm normally the one who's not very good at writing catchy hooks and being this, because I'm like, oh yeah, I need to make it really heavy and do as many notes as I can. And then luckily the other guys sort of bring me back and go, just calm it down a little. Like, we're going to make it a bit groovier. Like, me and the drummer, we both sort of go, let's just like do something stupidly heavy. And then the other thing that tends to happen is you realize that even the stuff that you're like, oh yeah, that's actually one of the lighter songs on the record or something like that. If you've been listening to, if you've had a couple of weeks off listening to metal, then you put that on really loud, and you're like, oh, that's actually a lot heavier than I remember it. I'm glad I didn't push it beyond that. Because it's like, I love my metal, but at the same time, it's like, I like a bit of everything. I've been listening to a lot of Refuse lately. So it's sort of like getting back into the Swedish post-hardcore. And it's, yeah, you got to keep everything, I guess, different styles a bit, try to not just I don't want to have 10 songs in a row that sound exactly the same.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I wonder a lot, and I wanted to. This is a really big question. My big question, and I'll break it down to sub questions. But my big question is like how do you write music, right? And my sub question, the first sub question on that is, you're somebody. I mean, you're in a metal band essentially. Like, the core of the music is metal, but
yep.
You're a man that listens to a plethora of different styles. How do you bring those styles in? Like, how do you think, okay, well, this would go well here, or I like this beat here, or I'm listening to this and I'm going to drag this in and I want to do this? And like, how do you do that?
That's quite a difficult question. See, normally, I guess I write in all different ways. So sometimes I'll start with the drum beat. Like, I'll load up one of the plugins that are just, a drum sampler and go, all right, I'm going to come up with a bit of a beat that I, see if I can write a guitar riff to that.
Mm-hmm.
Other times I'll be mucking around with electronic drum loops and just be like, oh yeah, this sounds really grimy and a bit gross. Wonder what this will sound like if I put a big, drum beat over this, and then, start with the bass, and then, the guitar's the last thing I put on top afterwards. So or I could start with a synth line. Next time around, I've actually been hitting up our singer, Oliver. I've been telling him, yeah, if you come up with vocal lines, just record them with nothing. I'm like,
interesting.
Because I haven't tried starting with a vocal hook and try to build around that. So I thought, why not? I'll give that a go next time. It's just, it come from all different angles. Sometimes I'll just be playing guitar, just making things up on the spot and be like, oh, hang on, I like that. I'll grab my phone out and just quickly record it so I don't lose it.
Yeah, and it's just something that's so confusing to me, because there's 4 guys in your band, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so there's 4 guys, 4 different ways of writing, 4 creative people, right? That all have their own instrument.
There are some arguments. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, and it's like, how does that seems like such an incredible melting pot to then put down, because like let's just take what you've just said, right? So you've just said, oh, okay, well, sometimes I get a drum beat and I write over a drum beat. I put my own bass beats to it. I put my own bass riffs. I put this, I put that. Like, you then may come out with essentially a whole song minus some lyrics, right? And you may even fucking write some lyrics for it. And then you take that to the band, and then the band is like, oh, well, I haven't got to do any work. Like, how does that mesh?
Well,
do you know what I mean?
Well, normally the opposite happens with my band. I instead have to accept that parts of it is going to be thrown away.
Right.
So, because what always sounds good at the time, you go, oh, this is perfect. And then you go, and they turn around and go, well, actually, this bit's too long. That riff just doesn't work. I don't know how we're going to put words over that. And I have to swallow my pride a bit, which, don't get me wrong, I'm good at now. Well, not great at it, but at least compared to originally, I was like, no, we're not changing this. Like, you know what I'm like. I'm a bit stubborn. But at the same time, they're luckily as stubborn as I am, and will happily turn around and go, well, actually, we are going to change this. And then, but generally, one thing I will say, every time that has happened, at the end result, I'm like, I'm so glad we changed that.
Yeah.
So that's why it's sort of like, I do my little like be annoyed, be like, oh, you're changing my art. But then it's like, hang on, it's their art too.
Yeah.
And then we sort of come back in. And it's like, I live far enough away from them, I can just ignore the phone for a while and then stop being and go, okay, yeah, we'll change it.
Yeah.
But like, the guys sort of come up here because this is my studio room that I'm in at the moment.
Looks beautiful.
Yeah. I'll give you a little tour. Look, I know this won't go on the podcast, but
it will go on the YouTube podcast.
Oh, you're having a YouTube podcast? I would have shaved.
Yeah. What?
So you got like keyboard? No, beautiful. My head, not the beard.
No. Again, so for audio listeners only, I'd say Wade is like a regular-sized Gimli at this point.
I'm taller than Gimli.
That's what I mean, a regular-sized Gimli. But yeah, Jesus, the beard is absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, sorry, you were saying like, because that's what I think. Like, it's almost like you're throwing. If there was just a pot of molten rock, you're then throwing in random bits of explosion, and then something will come out of it. And that solid bar is like one song, but that may take nuclear-esque explosions to get to it.
Well, yeah, it also depends on the song. Sometimes they just come out and everyone's happy with it. I mean, there are a couple there that our bass player started that I sort of ran with, and then he was pretty good at just telling me when to back it off a bit. But it's sort of like, yeah, everyone's got to be happy with it at the end of the day. Otherwise, you end up with songs that some people don't like, and that makes people in bands sad, and we want to all like the songs, even if we have to throw some of them away.
Yeah, that's kind of the other thing. Is this is such a massive question, but this is my other question. Is like, you said there that you want to make sure that you are bridging the gap between writing and playing music that you enjoy as a band, but also that's commercially accessible, right, to your audience.
Yeah, well, at least to a point. I mean,
yeah. And this is my question: is where does that lie?
I guess it depends what. I mean, one of the next single is probably a bit friendlier sounding than what people are used to for a band. Mm-hmm. That wasn't really done on purpose. It's probably more of a, everyone's taste is getting more varied as more music comes out and we all get a bit older. And it's just sort of like, oh, we need something to break everything, break it all up. So I guess that's not really ever thought about, I don't think. I don't think there's like we need to write something that will be a number one hit. Because, I mean, who knows what one of them would be even if you tried. Like, do they even have number one hits anymore that aren't covered in auto-tune and one drum loop and talking about WAP? I mean, I don't think we won't be able to sing about WAP, we get in trouble.
Yeah, probably, probably. But
I'll see if Ollie's willing to cover it.
I mean, oh man, that would be amazing. Imagine, that would be so good.
Yeah, you might get in trouble.
I think, like, do you think that your music taste gets more varied the older that you get?
Yes and no. So, like, I find the older I get, the less I listen to new music.
Yes.
But in saying that, the latest Bring Me the Horizon, I absolutely love that, and I wasn't really big into their old stuff.
Really?
Yeah, like you'd think I would like the old stuff a lot more.
The old stuff is so much better, in my opinion.
But yeah, of course. But you're an old school hardcore kid.
I am, yeah.
Yeah, so of course you're like, what is this electronic stuff? Whereas I'm like, oh, that's right. They worked with Mick Gordon on this, and I'm obsessed with the Doom games partially because of the soundtrack.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, yeah, I know I loved it, but then I've started going back and listening to the old stuff now.
I mean, I think for Bring Me especially, the problem that I had, or not the problem, I think the biggest shame was Ollie's throat problems, right? And that was almost like you see bands like, say, Linkin Park, for instance, they sort of evolved very naturally into a very different sound by the end of their sort of career. whereas Bring Me were in a forced change. Like Ollie just couldn't scream anymore in the way that he used to be able to. So they had to change the style. They had to change the way they did things because, well, I mean, it was just impossible for Ollie to do what he was doing. And that I think is a real shame because I wonder what we could have seen. But I mean, look, this is just me from personal opinion. The Bring Me from old to me was brilliant, but it was also like Ollie went through some very personal changes to his own character, right? Like when the first ever gig I saw was a triple header of Bullet from Valentine, Bring Me, and Atreyu. Now, what happened at that gig was Atreyu mimed, right? So they got booed off stage. Bring Me.
I was never a big Atreyu fan.
So I really liked
never got it.
I really liked the one album. I've forgotten what the album's called. But then when seeing them live and saw that they mimed, it took all of the love out for me. And then Bring Me got
how mimed is mimed.
Like as in the song ended and the dude was still at the mic speaking into it and nothing was coming out.
Oh yeah, no, that's not good.
And everyone was like, "Hold on, that's not right." Then
it's like at least practice your mime. Come on.
Bring Me got booed off stage because Ollie was asking people to kill each other in the pit, and the same evening, like Ollie got into fights with people at the train station because he called someone a cunt, and it just wasn't good, you know.
You see, that's actually offensive over there. I mean, here that's what we call our mates.
Yeah, exactly.
Like come on, cunt.
Yeah.
What you what, mate?
Yeah.
You what, mate?
Yeah,
that's what you guys say, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, in it. Yeah.
In it. Yeah. In it.
Yeah.
But
that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, and then Ollie turned. I don't know. I think I don't know Ollie personally, obviously, but it felt like from his media outlay that something changed in his life, in his psyche. Something changed, and that obviously will affect his music as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess not really being big into them. I just sort of heard the new stuff and went, "Oh, there's heaps of synths," and I'm not sure about the bits that sound a little bit R&B. But then over time, like, okay, now they're stuck in my head. I'll just have to embrace it now.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do. And then it was just stuck there. And then, I started going back and listening to the old stuff. But I know it didn't grab me as much, but probably because I wasn't there in the time. I was too busy being like, hardcore. That's not as good as metal. They're just all trying to be at the gates.
Yeah.
Sure. They're all trying to be Swedish melodic death metal. And I was into that when I was 14. Who are these guys? Short hair.
Do you like Post Malone? You heard of Post Malone?
I have seen where he covered Nirvana.
Yeah. Did you like it?
I thought it was okay. I mean,
I liked it.
Like, I thought it was cool that someone who I guess is normally an auto-tuned rapper was playing actual music. Because that's the one thing I can't get into, that overly auto-tuned rapper stuff.
See, like I don't think he's auto-tuned as much as somebody, let's say, like Lil Wayne or one of those other people. I mean, but the thing is that's like an entire style, an entire genre of music now, right? Is that auto-tuned rap, and Lil Wayne was one of the pioneers of that, obviously. But yeah, Post Malone, I think the thing that I like about him the most is he's actually a musician before anything else. Do you know what I mean? Like, he actually sings, he writes, he drums, he plays guitar. He's actually a student of the art. And then what comes out, like his latest album, he's got Ozzy Osbourne on there. He's got also.
Don't get me wrong. I actually respect him.
Yeah, 100%.
So like, it's sort of, I did watch and go, yeah, it's pretty cool. But like, I know, I just sort of saw heaps of people, I guess, getting way too excited over it. But I think it might have been because everyone was stuck at home. So it's sort of like, it's easy to get excited over it.
And that was kind of my thing was, that's what I was alluding to, right? Is there were some guys that just did some YouTube live stuff, and he did another one. I can't remember the sponsor, but Bud Light, I think it was, put him on a stage with his band, and he basically just did some tunes, did some covers, did some regular stuff, and it was as if it was live. Obviously, I mean, obviously Bud Light have got the budget to stream that shit well, and it sounded great.
Yeah,
obviously.
well, that's a big difference. It's sort of like, you know, it's. I think I read somewhere, or at least my singer told me, that they would look through the rigs and what it costs to actually be able to do that properly live, like they were, and like all the different bands are doing, and it was like $100,000 sound system. You know, like it wasn't just like, oh yeah, chucked it in a mixing desk. You know, like the amount of money, and especially when you include all the cameras, the lighting. You know, it's super expensive to do properly. Like I guess if you had a venue already, you might be able to get something sort of set up, but even then, it's not gonna, I guess, come out like the professional ones did, because they're all using, you know, really professional gear to make sure that, yeah, what comes out the other end, people actually want to stay tuned to.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you know, it becomes another video on Facebook, and people listen to it for like 30 seconds and go, oh, yeah, that doesn't sound great through my phone speakers. I'm going to go to the funny video of cats.
Yeah.
And then either that, or you get comments on there just being like, yeah, the sound shit, hey. And you're like, oh, good, thanks for that, thanks for all the support. Oh yeah, Facebook's funny like that.
Facebook's a fucking cesspit, mate. They all are.
Oh yeah, I know. Well, I've sort of thought about it. I'm like, would I still have a Facebook if I wasn't being a musician? It's like, I do like being able to message my friends. That part's good. But the news feed, it's like I just try to stay off it.
Yeah.
It's just arguments. And it's just, they're so personal.
Yeah,
it's just like,
it goes from fucking, especially now, like it goes from lockdown being a hoax to being the source of world domination to being the vaccine's got nano chips in it. And then if you don't believe that, then you're personally
well, you're an idiot for not believing in that.
Absolutely. You're the utter enemy, right?
No, but see, there was one going around that I saw that the Melbourne lockdown wasn't from COVID. It was actually the police were clearing out the tunnels under the city from all the abused children by the elite that were being kept down there for rape. It's like, so where did these thousands of kids come from that suddenly all live in tunnels, and that's why everyone's being kept inside so they can evacuate them and just not tell anyone?
Right.
I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna stop. That's enough internet today.
Yeah, there is enough internet.
Especially when there's comments going, yeah. And you're like, no.
And how do you balance that? How do you balance that? Because you have to have a social media presence for the band, if not anything else, right? And you know, if it comes to the day where you turn into your aspirations and you're a globally recognized band and whatever, the social media presence will be really prevalent and really important to how the band grows and how it's perceived. Like how do you manage that?
Well, luckily for us, our singer's quite good at it.
Okay.
So yeah, he loves it. He's on his own personal one. He's always got, what amazing food he's been eating. And he's he loves his wine. So he's always got pictures of his wine, but he's also very good with the band social media, and he's quite a social person. So luckily he does it. And then he goes, hey mate, you haven't shared this yet. Then I go, oh fuck, hang on. I'll go do that because I'm terrible with it.
Yeah.
But no, he's really good at that. And I'm glad to leave that with him. I look after the band's Twitter, which is nightmare. I still don't get Twitter.
How do you not get Twitter? What's to get about Twitter?
Well, as a musician, what do you write on there? Like, because I mean, not the way Trapped did it before they got banned or whatever. Not the come here, I'm going to fight you, because that's how people respond. Yeah. There's only so much you can write. Hey, we've got t-shirts for sale. Hey, we got this. Because we got like 10,000 followers on Twitter.
Wow.
But I don't know what to say to them.
I mean, I guess.
So I do. I mean, so it is like it's just a case of getting, I guess, used to that. Like things from our other feeds go there. you know, and get shared there. And we've got a few people that do, you know, retweet them and respond. But it's very hard, I guess, because it doesn't seem like it's a good musical platform. It's, especially lately, it's a political opinion platform, and you don't really want, like, we're not a political band.
Sure.
We're also not like, you know, like, yeah, like we dress up a little and look a little bit scary, but we're definitely not the down with religion, so we can't just like get on that train.
Yeah.
You know, because that's not who we are as people. We're like, live and let live, but also we sort of look scary.
Yeah.
So like, it's like, you know, and I don't really want to be like, oh yeah, so me and the singer played some Call of Duty because we can't even get in the same state, and that's awesome. Because no one wants to hear about our Call of Duty. We're not pro gamers.
No, but I think though, I mean, Twitter is a newspaper essentially, right? That's what it is, and Twitter is very difficult to interact with if you don't have any news.
Yeah, oh yeah, well definitely, like all the news does, any news we have does get posted on there, of course.
Exactly.
But it's sort of like, but it is a bit like, you don't, with the current climate's news, it's not like you want to go and interact with that news either.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I love sort of retweeting other local bands and stuff like that when I see it, but you end up with so much 5G fake news. We're storming the Capitol type stuff all over Twitter. It's just, it's insane.
Mate, the world is in tatters, frankly. A lot of it anyway. A lot of the world is in absolute tatters. How can we go, like, there's so many memes about, but it's like, everyone was thinking like, oh, 2020 is an awful year. 2021 can only get better. And then within 2 weeks, fucking radical groups have stormed the Capitol building and people are dead.
Can we go back to 2020?
Exactly. Like people are like, oh, fuck this. Like,
it's like, can we just go back to staying indoors? And well, funnily enough, like the whole, I guess, isolation thing was sort of like, because one of the good things that I guess came out of isolation was I ended up doing a video clip for the band.
Okay.
Because I learned how to edit video just because
I was
stuck at home. Premiere Pro.
Oh, okay.
And After Effects. Got it. No, it's on Windows.
Is it?
How dare you call me a Mac guy?
Yeah, well, I don't know. You might have defected.
Oh no, Premiere. No, I can't do that. No, because I'm also a gamer, so I definitely can't be a Mac guy.
Yeah.
But no, it was one of those things where I'm like, I'm gonna give myself a new skill. And you know, sort of went, all right, what can I do for this so have some sort of visual element? And it sort of started out with, oh yeah, I'll just put like a few pictures together with some static inside like a TV screen, learn how to use like the green screen and whatever. And then end up being a whole video clip, which I sort of based on how I felt the world was at home in COVID, where they just spent the whole time glued to the TVs going, all right, oh, I'm bored. Hang on, I better look up porn. Oh, I'm done it now. What am I going to do now? Oh, what if there's any horrible things on the internet? Oh, I've done that now. Oh, I better go back to porn. You just go, what do the people without video games do? Like, gamers have been training for this, but they're just like, well, I guess I'm at home with arguing on the internet, and I hear there's like some sort of pornography on here. That, you know, that might sort me out.
I think. I mean, yeah, gamers have absolutely been waiting for this, and it's a shame. I mean, it's not a shame that I had to work because I got paid, but
I had to work too.
Yeah, it's like if I wasn't working, man, yeah, the Call of Duty would have got rinsed, absolutely rinsed. But yeah, I mean, I think in isolation, what do people do? I don't know, mate. Like my missus, she was put on furlough, so she wasn't working, and you know, she's probably watched every single thing on Netflix now, like ever.
She's completed Netflix.
Yeah, she's completed Netflix.
Locked it.
Yeah, achievement unlocked, like completed Netflix. But other than the dog, but then even the dog, like we couldn't take the dog out for a while. I don't know what people do in isolation. Like I really don't. I honestly think, like on a more serious note, like I think isolation is probably, especially if you're on your own, with no access to things like games or any form of positive community, it's probably seriously mentally damaging, you know?
Yeah, there was did you see the thing on Netflix, that Death to 2020?
I haven't watched it
It was
yet.
like
No.
yeah. I think it
Imogen's
was done by
probably
the
watched it, but
I think it was done by the Black Mirror guys, but there's like
okay.
there was one of the actors on it was meant to be this woman that was the most average person they could find in the world. She was an English woman, and she was saying how she created multiple personalities to entertain herself, and even then she didn't like them. So it's just sort of like, yeah, that's probably what people were doing.
Probably
Going,
is what
"Oh,
people
well,
are doing.
I'll go sit over here and talk to myself.
But
But I mean, what's the alternative? Like, oh, run out and we'll be Sweden and it'll be right.
I don't know.
And it
really
wasn't right.
Know. No, I don't know. I really don't know. It's yeah, I don't know. It's a crazy time, and I don't know. I mean, I know that you haven't been massively affected by it, but do you live with your missus?
No. So, well, she's generally here every weekend, so she doesn't live that far.
Okay.
But we do that thing where we're like, if we're not there all the time, it means that spending time together is a lot better.
Yeah.
And yeah, so she lives near her uni. She's still studying. So, but yeah, I guess during the lockdowns, I'm like, yeah, you might as well come here. Spend a few more days here than usual. It's like we've got nothing else to do.
Yeah. And did you find it was healthier or better for your relationship or not?
Oh, well, I mean, if anything, it was like, for us, it was fine because we didn't live together. But I could imagine people who actually live together who are not used to being stuck in the same apartment or same house for so long would probably have, some adjustments. Because like I have heard of like different people who were sort of like, I didn't realize how much this one thing that slightly annoyed me really, really annoyed me after months of, not leaving the house. But yeah, like, I guess it's a case of like, I mean, we were fine. We tend to like enjoy staying home anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was annoying not being able to go out to shows and stuff like that, because that was the things that we would generally do. Like,
go out and eat.
Like, I mean, we could do that most of the time anyway here. It was only for a short amount of time that it was takeaway only.
Okay.
So like, I mean, even most restaurants were sort of like, they took their capacity down a lot, so you would have to book. That was sort of after, I guess, a month or so they started reopening. Whereas and then like I said, we had the lockdown for 3 days recently, but then they're back to being open now. But we've now got like, you have to wear a mask in public if you're going indoors. So there's like a rule. It's sort of like, you can go to a restaurant, you have to wear a mask, I think, until you sit down, then you take it off while you eat, and then you put it back on when you leave, sort of thing. But once you're back outside, then you can take it off again. It's like a new thing in Brisbane because we didn't have any of the mandatory mask sort of stuff up here before then.
See, it's essentially the opposite for us. Restaurants have been closed for best part of a year, like on and off, like in between the lockdowns. Things have been slightly more open, but generally things are just takeaway only, and that's it.
Yeah. See, well, that'd be like, I guess, the big difference. Like I said, like we did have gigs here, but they were like, restricted to like half capacity, whatever the venue was, and you had to sit down. So there was definitely no mosh pits or anything like that.
No,
but it was like a sit down thing, which was really weird watching. Like, I've got mates that are in a death metal band that all their songs are about 80s cartoons.
Okay.
They're called Snake. They're called Snake Mountain. You should check them out. They're awesome. But like, the singer of that band, like he's always running around, and like he'll run through the crowd with his wireless mic and scream at people. It's good fun. But it's weird sort of watching a band like that sitting down.
Yeah.
Because like normally be like, people are standing around having a good time. It's like, oh no, it's just one guy running around and screaming at people who are sitting down. Actually, no, he couldn't do that. He had to stay on stage. But, you know, so it was sort of, we still had it, but it was like, you'd still got that whole like, oh, is it worth going out? Like, because at any point you could be like, oh, it turns out that thing you went to, everyone's got COVID from that now. Like, you know, there was still always that risk, even though we didn't have a case for months. So I guess it's just sort of been weird more than anything. Like, I've been more, I guess, affected by not being able to continue working with my band and just having to do everything online and send things back and forth. That's been, I guess, the most isolating thing for me, just because we had a lot of plans. And it was just as we were about to ramp them up that it had to be shut down. So it was sort of, you know, but at the same time, it's like, I don't want to go on about it because it's a bit selfish, because then you got, you know, places like where you're at, where everything is just literally shut. It's just a case of the few people who can work from home do, and, you know, everyone else, you know, that's it. You just sort of have to deal with it. Like, is the government been good over there as far as with making sure people can afford everything?
No. I
They
mean,
just sort of got, oh, you're on your own. Sorry, mate.
yeah, essentially. I mean, there's been, obviously the furlough scheme is important, and it allows certain people to get paid, but there's also a ton. It's only, the furlough scheme only works for businesses that can afford to stay open long enough to keep the furlough scheme going, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of businesses have had to close, and some really high level, like high name businesses have had to close as well, which is obviously bad. And loads of people have lost their jobs. And then I know a couple of people in the grappling scene that made their living from grappling, and applying for state benefits took 6 to 8 weeks to even get a form answered. And then there's more forms and this and that. So, you know, you're looking at no money for 3 months, 4 months. And by that time, lockdown's almost finished. And it's just, it's not great. And again, over here, the same thing happened as with you in Australia. Like, when lockdown first began, supermarkets were just empty for weeks because everyone just stock bought everything, you know? And yeah, it's been weird. Like, obviously for me and Imogen, we've been fortunate. I've been able to continue working. Imogen's company's been able to stay alive and given furlough, but that's not been the case for a lot of people, you know, a lot of people. And your lockdown was a couple of days or whatever it was. Like, we were in lockdown for, you know, 7 months of the year.
Yeah. Like I guess, like last year, I think I worked from home though for about 5 or 6 months.
Yeah.
So full time. So it was sort of like, but it still wasn't it wasn't locked down like it was there. It was a case of the government sort of put out a thing of, if you can work from home, do it. You know, we'll, you know, reduce the cases as much as we can. But I guess in saying that, everything's just different here because of how populated we are. Whereas it's like what is it? England's probably could fit into the state I'm in. Well, definitely could fit into the state I'm in.
Multiple times.
Yeah, Brisbane's a lot bigger than London is. With
100%.
Yeah, where you've got more people in there on a, you know, in London on a day-to-day basis than what we have in the whole country.
Yeah, I mean, how many people do you have in Brisbane, roughly?
Oh, last time I checked, it was like 2 and a bit million. I mean, let me Google it.
Jesus Christ. 2 and a bit million. That is nuts.
Let me see. Brisbane population. 2.28 million in 2016.
Jesus Christ.
So it'd be more than that
bigger.
now.
Yeah, it can't be much more.
It might be like 2.5.
That's nuts.
You know, 2.5 million people.
Like, London's like 30 million.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you've got a massive difference there just from, you know, how much extra space there is here. So it's much easier to socially distance. Whereas I know living there, and like, which don't get me wrong, I actually loved living there and how busy it was. That's great. But the idea of trying to social distance down any street in that entire city,
or the tube,
like, I just, yeah, like, it's just completely impossible. Like, there's no way you can keep the city running and socially distance. It's just, I mean, they couldn't do that here. We've got how many people? So yeah, there's like, yeah, and I guess in London it's a lot tougher to live there. It's like almost a case of like, if you can't afford it, oh well.
Yeah.
I hope you like sleeping in the park.
Yeah.
Gets a bit cold, but you'll be right.
It does get cold.
Whereas here it's like, oh, even if you have to sleep in the park, it's like 20-something degrees. You'll be right.
On the topic of London, how much do you miss adobo?
Oh, quite a bit, but I've actually, you know that pork burrito we used to get from there?
I do remember vividly.
I can make that.
No, not the same. No way.
I learned how to make that because of adobo. Oh, it's pretty damn good. If you're ever down here, I will make you burritos.
I mean, I want to come to Australia. I want to go to New Zealand because there's a couple of guys I want to get tattooed by, and there's a couple of jiu-jitsu gyms I want to visit. But on that trip, almost certainly, I will come and get adobo burritos, aka Wade Norris.
Yeah, I will definitely make them. Well, I mean, it's set now. You sort of have to.
Yeah,
I'll be upset if you don't.
That's fine. I mean, as soon as, I was scheduled to go to America in February. That's not happening. I've had to push that to July, June, July. And that may not even happen. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? Who fucking knows at this point?
Well, have you seen America? It's fucked. Like,
America is fucked.
The UK is fucked. But it's real fucked.
Yeah. What do you think about that? Do you have an opinion on that stuff?
Oh, I try not to have too much of an opinion on it, but it's insanity. Like, if you look at it, it's just, the whole thing is insanity.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I've met lots of, lovely American people who are definitely not insane and are pretty down to earth. So I'm like, how? It's like, how do you get so many people who just cause that amount of insanity? Like,
I think it's not even that many people, to be honest. I think the difference...
there's a vocal minority.
Yeah, it's the vocal minority, because you think about how many people are in the US, and then you think about how many people are actually doing the things that we're hearing of. It's a tiny percentage of people, a tiny percentage.
Yeah, but I guess the thing you got to remember, that tiny percentage of people are all really highly armed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a different
I'm not
situation.
saying it's any less dangerous, but it's just
like, it's a sort of, I guess it's one of those things, I guess, where it's like, if that happened in the UK, it'd be like, oh, there's people out there with knives. They got a lot of knives.
Yeah. Not fucking incredibly high-powered guns. No.
Yeah. Which, don't get me wrong, I'm one of those people, I'm a firm believer that guns are pretty fun, and I've shot them on a few occasions, but I don't think everyone should have them. It's not a good idea, but it's like, they're fun, but just don't give them to everyone.
Yeah, I mean...
We don't have them here. Like, it's really hard to get a gun license in Australia, and that was because we had one massacre, and then everyone in Australia went, yeah, maybe we should give back our guns.
See, that's...
And then that's what happened. But
it's difficult, over there, it's like, isn't it? Because it's tied so closely to their sort of identity, I suppose, right? In America. And I mean, I'm not informed enough to have an opinion on the gun debate, but looking at it from an outside perspective, it's very difficult to draw a line between, there's tons of people that die in America because of guns, and you should also have the freedom to choose what you do in this life. It's so hard to make an actual differentiation, because it's gone so far now, right? Like in Australia, as you just said, there was one big massacre, and then the Australians were like, yeah, maybe we'll fucking fix this relatively quickly. Whereas in America, the gun culture is so entrenched that, let's say you put legislation in, like in Australia, that it's really hard to get a gun license, right? And everyone has to go through getting their gun license again in America. One, half the people just wouldn't bother.
It's too late.
And two, it's way too late, right? Like, there's a crazy stat that I heard before of like, there's triple the amount of guns in America than there are people. And there's a lot of fucking people in America.
Well, I mean, that's because guns are fun, right? It is actually fun to go out to a field and shoot cans, for example.
Yeah.
I've never gone shooting for animals, and I have no interest at all. But You know, I have been to a field and shot cans, and I shot an egg from about, 100 meters away, and I was pretty proud of myself. It was fun. But at the same time, it's like, you see, I guess, like people who over there are just like, yeah, this is what I keep next to my bed. They're just everywhere. Like here, even the people who are allowed to have guns, they have to have them in a safe that's bolted into the ground, and it's like enforced, and they get checked, and to the point that no one has them because it's not worth the hassle.
Yeah.
People go to clubs, use the club's guns, and then hand them back and go home because it's easier and safer. But yeah, over there, there's nothing you do about it at this point. It's beyond that. It's a I don't think it's fixable.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, everything's fixable, right? Like that from your job, but I think that it's difficult.
Not necessarily.
Like, yeah, but the difference then is you either have to. Sometimes it's too much effort to fix. You just wipe the fucking thing away and start again. But that is going to be super difficult when it comes to guns, right? Because you're gonna probably need to fight firepower with firepower, and that's going to cause vast sums of money to go missing and vast sums of life to go missing too, and that's just not something you want.
I just this is completely off topic, and
no, please.
I just realized that you've got a pretty nice chair as well.
Yeah, so the moment that you joined the chat, I noticed, and I was going to bring it up at some point, but yes, we both have Secret Lab chairs. Like, so I mean, how much did it fucking cost to get you a Secret Lab chair in Australia?
This one was about 600 and something.
And what was the shipping? Because they're a UK-based company.
I think the shipping was from Singapore, so it wasn't too bad. Okay, they're not made in the UK.
No.
I'm pretty sure. Actually, I'm pretty sure the shipping was included.
Nice.
And then I had to get the Batman one, which you probably can't see, but oh yeah.
Yeah, of course you got the Batman one. Why wouldn't you get the Batman one?
Well, the Cyberpunk one was sold out, and so.
Did you get this recently?
Oh yeah, 4 or 5 months ago.
Okay.
When I was working from home, I had a crappy chair and my lower back was hating me. So I went, it's time to get a nice chair. And then it arrived the day before I started going back into the office.
Excellent. I was the same.
I worked on it one day.
It's nice though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is good.
Shout out to Secret Lab.
Nice.
It's the chairs are expensive. Don't get me wrong, like the chairs are expensive, but for me, they're worth their money. Like it's a high quality chair. The build quality is good. The packaging is amazing. I know that packaging is whatever, but the box it comes in is really cool, and the instructions are good, and support's good, and everything else. It's just it's a good fucking chair. It's a good fucking chair. I would probably be screwed without it because my lower back's terrible anyway. So if I was sitting on a regular chair like you were, it would be probably.
Yeah, it wasn't good, but I know. I just see it. I'm like, oh, respect.
Yeah, for sure. I think, I've recommended quite a few people to these, guys in my office that are working from home, whatever. Here's a question. Do you think that office-based working is dead?
I'd like it to be.
Why?
Well, I mean, okay, not that I'd like it to be. It's more of a case of the old days of, I guess, having your own desk that is yours that you go to 5 days a week for a lot of people isn't needed, and it's wasted office space. Mm-hmm. I did work in one place that was a hot desk environment where everyone just had a laptop, and they had a bunch of desks that had docking stations, and just went and if you're in the office you could just go and hook it up to any desk around, and that was awesome. And it was just a case of like, if someone could work from home, they work from home, and they were still in there. But I think the mentality of a lot of people working from home isn't there yet, because
what do you mean by that?
It's really easy when you're working from home to be like, oh yeah, I'll go, I'll do some housework, I'll go put the washing on, and then that all sort of eats, into your day. But on the other hand, I find my biggest thing is if I'm working from home, I don't take breaks at all. Mm. So where I would normally be, I'm going to go outside and have nicotine, that just doesn't happen. I instead go, I'll just sit here all day vaping while I'm working. And then I'm like, oh, it's 3:00 and I didn't even stop for lunch. you know, and then it's like, oh, I better eat something, but at this point I'm too busy, so I'll just eat at my desk and continue to work. And then, you know, it got to a point where I was, you know, I was only allowed to do a certain amount of hours a day, so I'd put that down, but I'd find most days I'd end up doing more. So yeah, and I definitely know that I know of some people who were definitely doing less because you couldn't contact them. So like, you know, you need sort of, I guess, have a certain type of person to do it properly.
I mean, do you? I guess the other premise of my question is: do you think that? Because obviously, I mean, so you're obviously busy, right? And you're working constantly. Do you think that you should have to work constantly? Right? Do you think that there's just an endless supply of work for you to do, or do you think that there is a? Do you think there's? What am I trying to say? What's the question? Essentially, what I'm trying to.
I think what you're trying to say is essentially how some people would be better off working less hours and doing more work in that amount of hours and having more time to themselves, but still being paid for what would be a full day because they've got the same amount of work done as what they would have got done because they've gone, oh, I've got to do this amount for my day.
Yeah, like I think in the tech space especially, right? There's room for a different model of payment, and a guy that I work with called Colin, I've said this multiple times, but he had a theory, and I wanted to put it to you because one, you're a contractor, and two, the work that you do would fit really well into this. Is like you're given a specific number of things to do. Let's say you're on a project, right? And you have to get 100 machines ready to patch, right? So you've got to build all of your classifications. You've got to make sure your deployments are ready. You've got to make sure the patches they've gone through all their UAT and QA and all this stuff, and then they're ready to go out, right? Cool. Mm-hmm. So if that was your task, if you could complete that task in 3 days, let's say, mm-hmm. but your week's work was you were scheduled for 5 days to do this task, but you completed it in 3. Like, why would you sit around plucking your fingers and finding work to do if your task was X, but you completed it in Y? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, generally, I guess it would depend on the situation. If you were sort of someone and that was the only task you were given and you like quoted them 5 days, then I guess you would probably just charge them that and do the work in however long it took. But I mean, if you're someone like me who it's not necessarily I'm being asked to do a task, it's just I'm backfilling someone their 40 hours a week. Mm-hmm. And if that person was there, they would do the other stuff as well. You know what I mean? Like, it's a BAU type situation, whereas it gets a bit different on a project. If you deliver what you've delivered and you said it's going to cost you this much for me to deliver this, then that's how you would do it. Because I mean, there's many different ways to do it, I guess. Because I mean, if you're one of those sole traders who, you know, smaller businesses go, hey, I need you to do this for me. You know, you'd be like, oh, that'll cost you, blah. But that, you know, you might be doing that for 5 businesses at once. But they're all being charged the same amount. They're not going to be like get a discount because you're doing all 5 businesses at once in the one sort of task.
I feel like there has to be, because at the minute, right, when let's take a permanent job, right, because it's just easier to quantify. If you sign up for a permanent job, you sign a contract. You're not signing a contract to complete a task. You're signing a contract to sell an amount of time per week, per year, per month, whatever, per lifetime, potentially, right? You're mm-hmm. saying, I will give you 37.5 hours a week, possibly, for 50 grand a year, whatever it is, right? So the value of your time is already predetermined. And, you know, if you're in an office, it's difficult for you to just load up Cyberpunk and play half an hour on your lunch break. You know?
Yeah, that might get frowned upon.
Right, but then if you're at home, like let's say you took your hour lunch break, nobody gives a fuck what you do with it, right? Nobody cares whether you load up Cyberpunk, whether you go and start arguing with people on Twitter about storming the Capitol building. Nobody cares, right? Nobody cares. but the same productivity is coming from you specifically, right? As would come from whether if you were in the office or not. Now, again, I concede that there are certain types of people that do well or function well, but do you not think that there is room for changing models of working so that you're not working as many hours and you have more time in the day to do what you want? Like, another option, I think, is the hours that, like, the time, the actual physical timings that you work. Like, for me personally, I hate waking up in the morning, but I'd happily stay up until 3, 4 in the morning, right? No problems. Like, I would more,
Yeah, I'm the same.
If I would start work at 11 midday, you'd probably get way better productivity out of me than me starting at, when we were at the CMA, I'd be there at 8 o'clock, and there would be a well-written rule.
I'd never be there at 8.
No, of course not. But, there would be a well-written rule that people didn't talk to me until 11, and that's because I was an arsehole until 11, right?
Oh, you weren't that bad.
Yeah, I liked you. That was the difference. But it's like, people work in different ways, right? And do you not think that having flexibility in general between the product, which is you essentially, and the consumer, which is the business?
I mean, yeah, it should work, and it should be possible to do that. And I have worked, I guess, a couple of times in places that would be like, yeah, come in at 10 if you want, leave at 6. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I've worked in other places where they've literally been like, if you're after 9, you need to have a reason. Mm-hmm. Even though, like, at the end of the day, if you're 5 minutes after 9, you'll leave 5 minutes later.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're like, well, I still have to fill out a timesheet. But it's like, because I have that whole duty of care, I guess, to make sure that you haven't been hit by a bus on the way to work. But yeah, I do prefer more flexible arrangements. Of course, like anyone would, but it depends who's in charge. Because some people really do like, luckily not where I'm working now, but there have been places where you get someone, I guess they're a couple levels up, and they love to get in the morning and sort of sit in their desk and watch their little empire of people all work. Mm-hmm. And it's because they sit there and go, look at all the people I'm in charge of. They can't do that if they're at home.
Yeah.
But what are they going to do? Like, hang on, we're going to get you all on a video call so I can watch you while you work. Like, there are some people who just, that's what they enjoy. They micromanage an entire department, and they want to sit there and be like, oh, everyone's here. This is great. Look at them go. Problem. Yeah, look at them go. That's just, generally I don't like to stay in workplaces like that.
Yeah, I agree. Because, the problem, I agree with you, obviously, but like, I don't see why there's any reason. I don't see any reason why. Obviously, if you've got scheduled meetings and stuff, you should probably turn up for those meetings on time. But, if you wanted to do 2 hours, 11 till 1, and then you take 5 hours in your day where you just write music, and then you pick work back up at 6 p.m., right? And then you finish your work at 11 p.m., right? If the work is done and it's done on time, obviously, right? Like on time.
Yeah, because it's still on the same day.
I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be able to do that. Like, the autonomy to live a life of somewhat more of your own choosing, I think that is something that's become way more apparent in lockdown, right? Like, for me personally, I spent a lot more time on my machine than usual, right? Because generally my recreational hours are on this PC, right? So what happens is I get up in the morning, I do my day's work, and then I'm still sitting here at 11 o'clock or whatever it is, or my missus goes to bed and I'm still here at 1 a.m., right? And I've spent 15 hours sat at this PC. Do you know what I mean?
See, and that's where the chair comes in.
That is where the chair comes in, absolutely. But it's...
Yeah, I get exactly what you're saying. And I do agree that would be good, but I think, unfortunately, with the way, I guess, businesses work, everyone's still in a very much old mindset of, 9 to 5. or 7:30 till 4 o'clock seems to be what it is at my work at the moment.
Really?
I start at 9.
Right. Excellent.
So I'm one of the later people there. But a lot of people just love to start early and get home to their families and stuff like that. But it's just a case of like, that's, I guess, how businesses seem to like to run. Which, funnily enough, for IT staff makes no sense if you're not in the customer facing situation. Because if anything, I would get more work done if I couldn't get any messages from anyone because they weren't online.
Yep.
Because you know what sort of work I do. Like I could be like doing
Just
something.
Just explain to people that don't know in layman's terms what it is you do.
Okay, so I make magic happen.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah. So essentially, if someone somewhere goes, I need an application, and it just installs in their computer like magic, I make that automation happen.
Yes.
But it doesn't always go to plan. So sometimes I end up chasing down why it's not working, and that's the thing that drags me out of the things I like to be doing. And that's the sort of thing that I wouldn't have to deal with if I wasn't in the office during the day. But in saying that, that's one of the reasons why they would want me in the office during the day. To be like, oh, well, if you're also that third level, if something's really broken, we need you to look at it. So, a lot of the time, like, if they turn around and went, well, the guy who does that will be in at 11 p.m. Can you just log back on and turn your computer on so we can have a look? Like, that wouldn't fly. But whereas I guess you're more of a server infrastructure guy, so it would make more sense for you to be able to do that.
Yeah, because like, don't get me wrong, we're able to make, and frankly, I'm the same as you, right? Like, if I still get tickets of this is broken, fix this app's broken, and then you need a user to test it, or you need this, or you need that, or you need the next thing. Like, all of that stuff is obviously apparent, but making changes.
You still don't want to.
No.
You're like, but I still don't want to before 11 a.m. And I want to have. So you'd be like, I need 4 hours for grappling, and then I can go back to work if I'm not injured.
But I mean, yeah, and I don't really think that that's selfish either. Like, like,
well, not really.
To be honest, obviously, it's well known within my organization, but it's like, if I could make money from grappling, that's what I would do, right? If I could make comparable money to what I can in IT, in grappling,
oh yeah, of course.
Right, but I'm not able to at the moment, right? So there are classes.
Like me, I'd be gone. I'd be like,
exactly. If somebody offered you 6 figures, right, for music, you wouldn't even think twice. You just wouldn't even turn up the next day. Like, see ya. What's the notice period? I don't give a fuck, bro. I'm gone.
Yeah.
And I think.
No, I wouldn't burn the bridge because that could be gone within like.
Sure.
You'd be like, oh, actually, we thought that you wrote pop. You're fired.
Yeah, sure.
We thought we were hiring a beats maker. Yeah, you're fired. And then I'd be calling back, going, that job.
I'm really good still, by the way.
Yeah, I still remember how to do it from last week.
But yeah, I just think, there's like there are, for instance, in the grappling scene, like there are lunchtime classes and evening classes. If I could, I would happily go to both of them and make my work fit around that, right? And I honestly think it could do that. I really think it could do that. Like, let's say.
But have you brought that up with your work?
Yes.
And what was the general consensus you got?
The general consensus was that either, my work would be happy enough with me going and training at lunchtime and taking a longer lunch if those hours are backfilled in the day, right? Which is fine. But it wouldn't be, oh, you can take, because let's say for me for training, right? I'd need 2 hours to get to lunchtime, and then about 2 hours, 2.5 hours maybe to get to evening and back. So that's 4.5 hours of my day. Let's just say 5 hours, round it up to 5 hours, right? If we take 5 hours from my work day, backfilling that would be until say 9 p.m., 10 p.m., something like that.
Yeah.
That wouldn't fly. So it was basically a choice of either take a lunchtime class or take an evening class, basically.
Yeah. Which I guess is reasonable, but at the same time, it's like, but I want to do both. Give me everything I want.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me everything I want. But I think
you need me. I'm Harry, and you fucking need me.
No way, need. Definitely not need. But I think I don't know. I just feel like a business as an entity needs productivity. If productivity can be served in a fashion that's more flexible, why wouldn't you allow that? You know, and I understand why, because of everything you just said. You know, there's ego and there's people involved, and when people are involved, that just becomes more difficult and blah 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 blah. Like, I get all of that stuff. I just think it's ludicrous.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would have to be the sort of thing that they could allow everyone to do, or no one.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, it's much easier to allow no one.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if they allowed everyone, imagine that, oh, well, actually, imagine trying to track thousands of people being like, well, I'm going to do 3 hours this morning, I'm going to take a 7-hour break, and I'm going to come back on real late, I swear. Like,
well, that's why you wouldn't
boss, I swear
that,
if you, yeah, I know, but you could go, boss, I swear if you log on, you'll see me online. And they're just like, they're at home and they've got caffeine installed on their computer, so it moves the mouse around. So they're like, their online status always says they're actually there.
That's why you have to be judged based on what you produce, right? So you could have caffeine installed on your machine, and you could be online for 16 hours a day, right? But when you needed to write a PowerShell script and the day comes that it's supposed to be executed and there's absolutely nothing there, then you get fired, right? Like, it's as simple as that.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And in the same vein, like SCCM, for instance, which is the tool that Wade works with predominantly, you know, that has all the telemetry data to tell you what apps are running, how long it's been running for, whether it's actually been used or not, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, so you can't just sort of be like, yeah, I did that. Just go check.
Because there are tools that can report on that. Now, again, you know, there's questions about freedoms and all this kind of stuff based on that. But I don't know. I feel like the technology is in place now.
Yeah, I think. Look, they may say you're a dreamer, but you're not the only one.
Fuck's sake.
No, it works in theory. I don't believe in humanity enough for it to work in reality.
Really?
Like, have you met some of the people we've worked with?
I have.
I won't mention any names, but
we both know exactly who we're talking about.
Yeah. Could you imagine putting the power into their hands to do that? And that's why you can't have that.
I mean,
it sucks.
I do get it.
That's reality.
I don't know. I mean, one day, right? One day, my.
Yeah, I think there needs to be a shift for a lot more work to be done at home, and that's one thing I guess they will have learned in this whole pandemic, because I know that. I think it was only probably about 9 or 10 years ago, the place I was working, they were trialing allowing some people to work from home, and it got removed pretty much instantly.
I mean, because the people that CMA,
because the people that had trialing it, but they didn't do anything in the office, so they weren't going to do anything at home either.
Of course.
And it was like, why are you getting the person who does nothing here to go home to do nothing? Like, I mean, you free up a desk for someone who does stuff, but in saying that, you can't use them as a test case because they're doing the same amount of work there as they're doing here.
I mean,
the problem is you didn't look at it here. Oh, yeah, I remember.
And you remember that? I mean, how many days did you work from home at the CMA?
Only on Sundays.
Exactly.
If I had to patch, because I just went, I work from home on this day because I'm not coming into the office to do the patching.
Yeah, and I remember specifically a manager that I will not name. We were doing some VPN testing, and they asked me
to leave a movie.
Could you stay at home to do the VPN testing? And I was like, yeah, sure, no problems. So I stayed. I think we finished. Bearing in mind, I used to finish at 4. Well, scheduled. I used to finish at 4 at the CMA, and I think we finished testing at like 2 p.m. Right. And he was like, cool, make your way into the office then. It took me an hour to get to the office. So I got into the office at 3, and then I stayed
to go home at 4.
For 4 to then piss off again. I was like, what? It doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever.
Yeah, but that was because it was I could make him do whatever I want.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, one day, I mean, I've got a little company in the works that I would like to put into practice. But I think if the company ever gets to a size where I have people working on the same project, like it will be as flexible as they want it to be. It will be based on deliverables. Like if you deliver this, you get paid. If you don't, you get sacked. And that sounds super harsh, right? But
yeah, but
that's how a fucking computer works. Like, why wouldn't we do that? You know? But you know what I mean? Like,
no, the reason why I find that funny is because I've seen what the labour laws are like in the UK. They're like they are here, very lenient.
Yeah.
Like, you got sacked. I'm gonna fight being sacked.
Yeah.
But you didn't do your job. Yeah, but you didn't give me enough warnings. You know, like it's a can of worms for sure. But I guess if you have people that are only on contract, you can sack them.
Yeah, for sure.
You are no longer required.
Bye. See ya. Good to chat. See you later.
Laters.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's right. I mean, I got released from a contract when I was over there before I joined the CMA. That was a funny story.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that briefly. Retell that.
Okay, so I was at a place that might deliver food.
You were running fucking cables, weren't you?
Yeah, I was cable tying stuff to a desk.
Fucking hell.
But then I got the job at the CMA and they wanted me to start in a week. And because I'd been there a month and 1 day, they wanted me to give 2 weeks notice. And I said, hey, let's meet in the middle because I've got this other job that pays twice as much as yours.
Yeah.
And I don't want to call in sick for half a week just so I can start the other one. And then I got an abusive phone call about how he'd never had someone be so blatantly rude to him. And then I can leave now or do the full 2 weeks. I went, okay, I'll leave now. And I had 3 days off and started the next week at the other job. I'm like, okay, all right. I'll leave now then. I don't really feel like cable tying stuff to desks in your call center so they don't get stolen.
God, fucking awful. Awful. And yeah, that was for a company that potentially may, in some fashion, deliver food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't Deliveroo.
No, it was the other one. Yeah.
The red and white sign, isn't it?
Red and orange, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
On the topic of food, how has lockdown been in terms of, because just again to set the pretense, like you decided that you wanted to get in shape and change the way that you looked a little bit.
And I did for a while.
Yeah, and I said and what I was going to say is you were doing fucking phenomenally well, and then lockdown hit. Like, what happened?
Oh, same thing happened to everyone else.
Yeah.
I stopped moving.
Yeah.
I went from, I think I was riding 10Ks a day.
Yep.
Going to the gym, sort of eating all right, and I mean having too much beer as usual, but keeping it under control.
These things happen.
And then lockdown, and then my exercise became walking about 6 steps from my bedroom to the room I'm in now, and back when I was finished work.
So now, I just checked.
I went to the gym today though. I had to wear a mask. That was weird.
Oh shit!
I had to wear a mask in the gym.
I've done 90 steps today.
Okay, I've done 90. A lot more than that.
90 steps.
How'd you manage that?
I mean, that's from my bedroom to the bathroom to shower and clean my teeth, back to my bedroom to get changed, to my living room, probably bounded about with the dog a little bit, and then sat down.
Yeah. And then you'll be there for the next however many hours.
I mean, hopefully.
Well, that's lockdown life.
It is.
Yeah. So now you can order in some Uber Eats. You've got that over there, don't you?
We do have Uber Eats over here. But mate, I'm fucking massive. I'm absolutely fucking massive. I put like 12 kilos on.
Yeah, but that just means you have to grapple with heavier people now. You'll be in their weight class. Nah,
I can't. I need to go back down. I was speaking to my friend the other day, and I said I need to fucking sort it out but the difficulty is I don't enjoy running. And I know this is super privileged of me to say, but I don't really enjoy running, right? Like I don't really enjoy, and I don't own a bike. And the gym that we have downstairs, like we've got like a tiny little gym with a couple of weights and some like running machines and stuff. But that's closed because of COVID, which is fair enough. That's fine. Yeah. All the other gyms that I go to for either grappling or whatever else are all closed due to COVID. And we don't have any weights here, and of course you can do body weight stuff, but again, try and do body weight stuff with a dog is difficult. It's
You're going to end
difficult.
up hurting the dog.
I'm going to end up hurting the dog, right? It's funny. Like I was doing some shadow boxing outside and he thought it was a game. And I ended up standing on his toe and then he cries.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck. Like I'm the worst person in the world.
Yeah. And then you feel horrible because it's a cute dog. I mean,
super cute dog. But yeah, I don't know. I know that it's a struggle, right? But what good things have you been eating? Tell me. Inspire me. Tell me. What good things have you been eating? What's good?
Oh, everything's good. I mean, to be honest, I've not been eating very healthy. But I don't know if you've got them over there, but you really need to get on the HSP train.
I don't know what that is.
Okay, so you know who've got kebab shops over there? Shawarma.
Yep.
Over here, the current trend, or it has been for a couple of years, is you just get chips, kebab meat, and sauce and cheese. That's it.
Oh yeah, that's the thing over here. Yeah.
All right, good. I just wanted to make sure. Like, I know you like don't even have Tim Tams or whatever.
Oh, don't stop. Do you know what? Oh,
I don't even know what chicken salt is.
You know, I still have not opened that chicken salt, and it sits pride of place in my cupboard. It's right here. It's just over here in the cupboard.
I can't believe you.
Same chicken salt.
Like,
Mate,
it's godly.
It's an heirloom now. I can't use it.
You have to use it. You have to put it on every bit of potato you have.
Yeah.
Make mashed potato, put chicken salt on it.
I do like a really nice garlic roast potato.
Yeah, that could use chicken salt.
That could use chicken salt. Yeah. That could use chicken salt.
You can put on anything. Literally anything.
Coffee and tea.
I ran out of regular salt and I was making eye fillet steak, so it was seasoned with chicken salt and pepper.
Excellent.
And it was awesome.
So sorry, go back to HSP. What does that even mean?
Halal snack pack.
Okay, that's the shop, right?
Yeah. No, that's what all the kebab shops call it. The halal snack pack.
Right, got it.
So like, okay, the reason why it's actually a funny reason why it became in the news. We have an overly right racist politician who was once again declaring that all Muslims should go home because she's a horrible racist.
Yawn.
So, but one of the TV presenters asked her if she would be keen to go down for a halal snack pack with him, and then it became a meme, and then everyone wanted to eat them, and
amazing marketing.
Yeah, and now they're a thing, and there's a good place down the road. To be honest, I try to limit them, but
so, what sauce is it? What sauce? Go on.
Oh, you gotta have what's called the Holy Trinity, which is garlic, barbecue, and hot chili.
Okay, not mixed together, like just over.
No, mixed together over everything. Yeah.
Yeah, fucking.
So all three sauce, like it's horrendous. Like, but it's hangover food. I know you don't drink, but if you did, you would get into it.
And what cheese? Do you get a choice of cheese or not?
No, it's just whatever cheese they have.
Excellent.
I mean, these are not classy places.
No, sure.
No, to be honest, like I'm much more likely to go down to my local pub for an eye fillet steak. They make a good one.
I'm not shocked.
That's one thing. That's one thing over here. The meat, like, it's good.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Like, you know, like compared to being over there, like when I got home, I'm like, oh, I forgot how much better the produce was here because we've got no people who live here.
Mm.
And it's just sort of like, so that, you know, I do enjoy the food being back here. I do miss the adobo burrito.
What else do you miss about London?
And Five Guys. Five Guys. I miss Five Guys.
Yeah, Five Guys is good. I haven't had Five Guys in a long time, obviously. But
but like, you got to remember the appeal of that is the whole fact that I don't have that.
Yeah.
So, you know, and also like, you know, our KFC has chicken salt, so that's pretty good. No, but to be honest, I just miss being in the big city.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you miss?
Fun because I'm.
Oh, okay.
Like even like things like, I might go down to the park. I used to go down to the park and feed squirrels because I don't have squirrels here. And you're like, there's fucking squirrels everywhere. And where I'm that weird guy who goes there who's like got the long beard going, oh my God, is that a fucking squirrel? Come here, squirrel. I've brought you my nuts. And by that I mean peanuts and not my actual nuts.
Yeah, sure.
You know, yeah. I'm that person who ignores the sign that says, don't feed the squirrels in this area. Well, it's like, fuck you. They need to be fed.
Do you remember?
But, you know.
Do you remember your Five Guys challenge to me?
Yeah. What was it? 4 burgers?
It was 3, but it
was 4.
I mean,
thought
it
it
could
was
have.
4 doubles.
Whatever it was everything.
Or was it?
I think it was 3 triple patties. I think that's what it was. Because
Yeah.
the story went, me and you went to Five Guys and we sat just downstairs in Covent Garden, just behind the stairs, and we had our meal. Sylvia was there, and I think Jen was there, and I ate mine, and you ate yours, and you were like, "Oh fucking A, I'm stuffed, mate." And I was like,
I'm
"Yeah."
fucking stuffed.
And I was like, "I'm not really that full." And you were like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm not really that full." And you were like, "No way."
And I'm looking at you going, how can you not be full? You look like Harry Potter. You had short hair then.
Yeah, I did have short hair then. Shorter hair.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, but
and
you
then
had like the emo shave on one side. It was
I
beautiful.
did.
But
and
I was just like,
then
but
yeah, go
how?
on, you
You're
tell
like, you're tiny. And then that's when you did that thing that you do where you're like, I hate paying for things, but I like food. So if you buy me heaps and heaps of food that I shouldn't be able to eat, I'll eat it for your amusement.
Yeah.
So I made sure that everything was overly sauced because I knew you didn't like things too overly sauced. So I made sure it was. And you had to eat the chips as well.
Yeah, and you got me a large chips, which was, oh man, it was just a mountain. Do you remember? I remember vividly what you said to me when I was eating them. So again,
I mean, I don't remember that much, but I'm sure it was me probably telling you that you're probably going to die here.
Not quite, but it was bad. So you delivered the food, right? And I remember we sat on the big long table in the middle downstairs, and like everyone was watching at this mountain of food that had just been delivered to me, and even the fucking even the workers were like, "This is weird. What's he doing?" And I got through the first burger easy, obviously easy. It's fine. It was warm. It was tasty.
First one's
beautiful.
fine.
The second burger was okay, but it started to cool down. The third burger was disgusting because it was cold mushroom and cold onion and cold lettuce and just cold, awful.
Yeah, and the cheese goes hard too to help.
Yeah, the cheese goes hard. Yeah, exactly.
I just want you to think about that third burger right now.
And that was bad. and also, you know, bearing in mind, but what was funny is I'd eaten 3 burgers before everyone had finished their meal, basically.
Yes.
And
well, that's because you knew if you didn't eat them fast, it wasn't going to happen.
Exactly.
And you didn't want to have to pay for it.
But where I started to slip, you also gave me a time challenge, if you remember. We had to do it in 50 minutes.
Yeah. Well, we had to go back to work.
Yeah, we had to go back to work. And the thing that got me the most was then I was really thirsty, right? Now, somebody intelligent would have gone for water. I went for fizzy drink. So I downed 2 of the large, like, I don't know, it was Fanta something. So that was like, I was all over the place at this point. Like it was hard. And then I opened up this fry bag. And again, I went for ketchup because who needs more salt? And I had this fry bag and you looked at it and you were like, oh man, that looks like a mountain of salt to me. And in my brain, I was just like, oh God, he's right. Like he's right. And just every chip was just like eating a mountain of salt. But look, I managed to get through it. And you know what's even worse is I had a big bowl of pasta for night.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Yeah, I don't know how either. The walk back was
awful. The walk
awful.
back was, yeah.
I thought I was going to die. Honestly, I thought I was going to die.
Well, we all found it really funny.
Oh man, it was awful. It was bad. That was a bad day. And I remember getting back and Ollie was like, "What is wrong with you?" Ollie was our like big boss at the time. He was like, "What is wrong with you?" And I was like, "I don't want to talk about it." And then you stroll in laughing and Ollie's like, "I don't get the joke." And then you told him and Ollie was, "Oh, just Jesus Christ, that was bad."
I think he was just disappointed.
Yeah. Do you remember Ollie though? Were you there when the McRib was around? Were you there for that?
No, I think you told me about it, that he had lots of McRibs.
I think the McRib was around for about maybe 2 months. And
it's not good though.
He had 250 of them. No joke.
Yeah, but they're not good. I don't get it.
I've never had one, so I don't know. But yeah, awful.
Well, I did. I had to because I wanted to know what all the fuss was about. Because everyone just goes, the McRib's back. Like it's this amazing event. Like, oh, I'm waiting for this all year, the McRib. And then I went, that's a bit shit.
Yeah, I don't get it.
It's not even real pork. It's like
of course
liquefied
pork.
pork.
It's fucking McDonald's.
Yeah, but it's just terrible.
Were you there for the other food challenge that we did?
I don't think so.
Okay. So we went to Big Easy. You heard of Big Easy in London?
No.
So, okay. So Big Easy is like a barbecue gaff, kind of like an American barbecue diner kind of gaff thing.
Like a Bodine's or...
No. Bodine's is good. Big Easy is not good in comparison to Bodine's, but Big Easy is okay. Like it's okay. But yeah, we did me and Alex at the time, and Jen and Sylvia, and I don't remember if obviously we didn't take you, but there was on a Tuesday, it was like an all you can eat ribs and chicken day. So you paid like, I don't know, it was like £18 a head, and you could eat whatever you wanted essentially.
Oh, well, I know where this is going to go, because I know how you are with the idea of getting as much as you can for your pound.
Yeah, and again, I was dared. Basically, they said like we'll do a little challenge of who can eat the most. Now, Sylvia and Alex were like, "Oh yeah, like I'm gonna win this," and I stayed quiet, and I was like, "There's fucking no chance they're winning this."
No.
And yeah, so they did like whole racks of ribs, right? And then they served you half chickens. So the chickens came in halves and whatever. I did 7 racks of ribs and 2 half chickens. So I ate a whole chicken and 7 racks of ribs.
Yeah. See, there's no way I could even get close to that, and I'm a lot bigger than you are.
And I just,
I don't know how you do it.
The walk home was just drastic. It was really bad.
See, I guess that's one thing I noticed since being back here. There is no walking home ever, because it's always too far.
Yeah.
Unless I go to my local pub.
And how far a walk is that?
Oh, 3 blocks.
Okay.
So that's actually pretty close, because I guess I live a street off what you would call a high street.
Mm-hmm.
We just call it the street here.
Sure, the street. Yeah.
Yeah. We call it a road. The road with the shops, mate.
Yeah.
It's usually the like, the fucking road with the restaurants and shit.
Yeah, that one.
We call it by what pub it's on.
Oh, nice.
The one with the Hamo. That's the Hamilton Hotel.
Right.
But that's the Hamo here. Everything's got to be shortened.
Yeah, of course, it's important.
Yeah, so I literally could walk, but it's like I don't like the food there, so we've got these amazing things in Brisbane called places to park. And
oh wow, okay. I don't know.
You can drive your car there and you can just park it and get out and go wherever you want.
I don't understand how that works. That's an alien system to me.
Oh, it would be over there. Like, so how far in London are you these days? Like, whereabouts?
I live in the same area, so I'm still southeast.
Oh, yeah.
You'll remember that you sold me a TV that I trekked across London and it took me 2.5 hours to get home. But
well, that's because the deal had to be picked up on the last day I was there.
Yeah,
that's why you got it so cheap.
I understand that. That's fine. I'm still in the same place. I've moved since I moved out of one flat into a different flat. But yeah, I've been here now for a number of years.
This place looks a lot nicer than your last place. So I'm guessing the woman's touch.
Yeah, absolutely. So I get this every single podcast, and I tell the same story every single podcast. Is basically Imogen was furloughed, and she said, "I'm bored." I said, "What do you want to do?" She said, "I'm going to redecorate the flat." I said, "Grand." This is what came out.
Yeah, it looks nice. Yeah,
it's really nice. It's really nice. She did an amazing job. But yeah, I'm still here. I don't know. Oh, one thing I was going to tell you is we went to the Highlands a little while ago.
Nice.
Just before the lockdown. Now we went for Highlands, mate.
You go to the Isle of Skye.
We didn't manage to get to the Isle of Skye. So basically, we had one weekend, and Scotland was still in lockdown, right? So basically, we hired a car and we could just go wherever the car would take us, but we couldn't go to things like Isle of Skye and whatever.
Yeah.
But we managed to go to Ben Nevis. We went to Loch Ness. We went all this kind of places. It was a lot of driving, but my God, that place is beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. See, that's the other thing I miss about living in London. I'm going to get up and go somewhere, because, I mean, I can't really do that here. Like, don't get me wrong, we have a lot of pretty awesome places in this country.
Yeah.
But they're all still in this country.
Yeah.
So there's no, like, I mean, New Zealand's only a few hours away. I mean, not that we can go there at the moment anyway.
Sure.
But, I mean, other than that, there's the closest thing, Southeast Asia. And
everyone fucking goes there, right?
Yeah. It's like, it's the place that all the bogan Australians go and drink too much, and just to the point where they've made such a nuisance of themselves. I don't want to go there because they'd be like, oh,
More
another
Australians.
Australian. Yeah. It'd be like how, all of Europe thinks of you guys.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah.
They were like really happy when they realized I wasn't from there. Like
Yeah.
when I was traveling around, they went, oh, you must be nice. Not like those Brits. They think they own the EU.
Well, not any fucking more we don't.
Yeah,
That's
I
for
know.
sure.
No, that was a dumb idea. Get out of that.
Mate, I just... yeah, don't get me fucking started. I don't know. The problem I have with that whole thing is nobody has any clue what's going to happen. Not even the government.
I've heard like weird talks about some people trying to go, well, maybe we'll just get the Commonwealth back and maybe we can open it up with Canada and Australia. I'm like, but that's not a good idea. All that'll happen is all the smart Australians will go over there because the money's better in certain areas. And we'll
London.
get like, yeah, but we'll get all like the dodgy Brits down here.
Again.
They'll come and they'll be like, oh, it's too hot. That's what you guys do when you're down here. Is just cry about how hot it is. Like,
mate, I tell you what.
No, it's not that bad.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Give me all the heat, all of it.
Yeah, you say that now. But so I have air conditioning on now, and it's 10:30 at night.
Yeah.
Hey, let me look up the weather for you of what it was today, just so. Oh, it's only 23 degrees at the moment.
I see, that's perfect.
73% humidity though.
Ooh.
At 10:30 at night. So that's the whole thing. I don't actually have like the cold on. I actually have the thing that makes the air drier.
Yeah.
So the dehumidifier.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just gets like you just stick to every chair in your house. It's pretty gross.
Yeah, that's not what you want.
You start making all forms of denim soup. It's not pleasant for anyone.
Oh, fucking oh dear.
Well, it's a very Australian thing to say. Talk about a denim soup.
So, tell me what the plan is for. Obviously, when does lockdown end properly for Australia? Do you know?
No, because I mean the big problem is no one knows. So, like, it was ended pretty much a few weeks ago. So a few weeks ago at Christmas, the borders were open between the states. I was looking at booking a flight down to Sydney and getting, together with the band, and then it's like, oh, actually, Sydney's got an outbreak now. So then they closed the borders. And then now Brisbane Brisbane's only got a few cases at the moment, but apparently a more contagious strain. Right. So they went, well, instead of trying to work it out while everyone's still moving around, because, all our bars and stuff are open, they went, okay, 3-day mandatory lockdown while we figure this out. And then now we're doing like another 10-day on top of that, just so they can keep an eye on it and get lots of people tested to make sure it hasn't spread. Okay. So, I mean, it could be over in 10 days. Either that or we'll find out in about a week that it spread everywhere. And then we've had a few different times where, like, people have, been in hotspot areas and just lied about where they were and then mysteriously show up another part of the country with COVID. Because they've told the borders, oh, no, I never went there. So, yeah, no one really knows. I mean, they're all talking about, oh, there's, when there's a vaccine. But, I guess, you guys are getting a vaccine at the moment, aren't you? Like, I started it.
Yeah, though there's problems with it, right? Like, there's problems in that there's lots of weird reports of, it's a 2-part vaccine. So you get one part and you get another part. And lots of people have got the first part, but then they're delaying the second part because they don't know whether it actually does the thing that it's supposed to do, or, what the side effects are, or this or that. So people are kind of left in a halfway house if they've got half, but they don't have the other half. And they're thinking about canning the other half. So if you can the other half, what happens to the people that have had the first half? Like, do they get another one? And if they get the other one, what are the side effects because they've already had the half? And it's just a bit of a nightmare. Yeah, it's a fucking mess. Yeah, it's a fucking mess.
But I mean, it was always going to be a mess because they didn't, test it for long enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's sort of like, well, if we don't put it out there, it's going to be fucked. And if we do put it out there, it could be fucked.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it sounds like everything's a bit rough over there.
Yeah, I think for a lot of
Unless you
people,
really unless you like being indoors a lot.
Yeah, I mean, even for me, somebody that's a super introvert, it's tough. It's gotten tough now. Like after a year, essentially, nearly a year on and off, it's getting a bit too much now. But luckily, it is what it is.
Oh, I know what you mean. Like, I think the first few months I was like, cool, I get to work from home, and then it was sort of like being back at the office. I'm like, oh, I'm actually enjoying my house again because I'm not always here.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're like, I hate my house. It's where I work, and everyone hates where they work. So it's like,
let's round out on a positive note. For when lockdown ends, what's the plan?
Okay, so the plan when lockdown ends. Well, first thing, we've got a new video clip coming out, which we want to follow up with some shows. At this point, I would just be happy to play anywhere. We originally had plans on being over near you this year. Probably around this time of year, but obviously that's not going to happen. And even then, once it reopens, all the other bands had to cancel will be scheduled in. So I don't know when we'll get over that way, but that was the original plan. But I guess, getting back to normal. I'm just looking forward. I'm looking forward to just getting back into a jam room. To be honest, that's the major thing I'm looking forward to. It's not playing shows or whatever. Just turning my guitar up really loud. Hearing the drums really loud, and just being like, cool. I'm hanging with my mates again, and we're making stupid loud amounts of noise. And then, just getting back out there and being able to be a bit social again. Because it's weird, because I guess I've realized that I'm not overly social, but I really like going out and performing, and those nights out when I have, it's just like a release that I really need. That because I haven't been even be able to do any of it, it's just sort of like, I like playing guitar at home, but it's not the same. It's the same with like, even sitting here every night gaming because you can't go anywhere. It's a lot more fun if you don't do that all the time. You know what I mean? Like if you're like, cool, I've got a night where I can just like sit in. That's cool if you spend all the other times out. So you actually really enjoy that night you're going to sit in. But when you're always sitting in, you're like,
it's not the same.
You're like, I want to go out. I want to go somewhere, anywhere. Like, at least I got to see Tool before the lockdown, which was awesome.
Yeah.
So like, that'll be back. It's just a case of like keeping away from the news too much.
Well,
what about you? What's your plans?
What's my plans? So when lockdown ends, I'd like to get back to training, obviously, get back into shape. Hopefully competitions will start so I can get back to competing. I'm part of a grappling event. There's like grappling events that we put on. So I'd like to get that back on the road. I have a clothing brand that I'm looking to start. So I'd like to get that.
Yep, I've heard about that on you. I've listened to some of the other episodes.
Very kind of you, thank you. So I'd like to get that off the ground. Other than that, I mean, I just want to, build the podcast and get it out to as many people as possible. I'd like to start doing face-to-face interviews. That would be really, really cool. Obviously it'd be more difficult with you, but there's a cool setup behind me, right? So I might as well make use of it. You know what I mean? It'd be cool to, and obviously conversations flow a lot better when they're in person. So I think doing that would be really cool. Set up a camera or something and get some recordings done. Obviously I've got mics and whatever, and we can use that. We can record into those, but doing that would be really cool. And
be like the British Joe Rogan. Is that the plan?
I don't know. I feel like
Joe Rogan from Telfast.
I mean, I think the problem I have with Rogan, especially now, is, I mean, he's done what was best for him and his family by doing the Spotify deal, right? But it kind of really, in my opinion, went away from everything that he was the standing for at the beginning, right? At the beginning, the idea was you could get him anywhere, always. He wasn't censored, none of this, none of that. He was available everywhere, and now he's available in one place only. And I have a problem with streaming services, and I don't know whether I've spoken about it before in the podcast.
Yeah,
maybe,
you have.
Maybe I will, but
at least look, the podcasts on Spotify are free though.
Yeah, but you still have to sign up for Spotify.
Yeah, I know. Or use your Facebook, because Facebook you can use on everything now.
Yeah, but then either way.
I know.
So yeah, I don't really like that. But look, so I haven't listened to a Joe Rogan since, which is a bit of a shame, but it is what it is, But yeah, look, I mean, it's just to carry on, really. Like you say, it's just to try and get back to some form of normalcy and go and see friends and travel. And that's the other thing, is me and my missus just want to travel. We'd love to go to Japan. We'd love to come to Australia. We'd love to go all over the place. So
the whole thing is like, yeah, you want that. I guess the funny thing is everything that used to be normal, when it eventually gets back to that, I'm curious how long it's going to take people to go from, yes, it's back to normal, like, we can do all these things, to just being like, I hate everything again.
I'd say within 3 months, 3 to 6 months for sure.
I reckon there's going to be 3 months of like everyone going out to see like every band they possibly can, going to see every movie they can at the cinema, going to all the restaurants they can, and then 100%. Going, actually, turns out I hate all those things, and I miss being at home and Netflix, and they've got new things on Netflix now, so buy world.
100%, 100%. And I think it's good, but it will be really interesting to see it. Really interesting to see it. Can you tell people where they can find you and your band on various social media platforms, please?
Yep. Okay. So if you look for Our Last Enemy on Facebook, I'm pretty sure it's just facebook.com/Our Last Enemy. Or you can just go to ourlastenemy.com, and it's got all the links to all the rest of the socials, like our Instagram, Twitter. You can follow us on Spotify there.
Fuck Spotify.
It's got a link to our YouTube channel. Unfortunately, Spotify is sort of the thing everyone uses, so we have to push it. We don't really have a choice.
It's fine, I understand.
I used to use Google Play myself, because then I could still buy music on there if I wanted. But I know I buy vinyls these days.
Yeah.
That's my music purchases. I've got a fairly big collection that's growing. And because me and the girlfriend, we drink and listen to vinyls.
Beautiful.
And then I realize I don't have a record, and then I buy it while drinking, listening to vinyls, which becomes the next thing we drink and listen to, and then it repeats, and then I get more and more. It's pretty great. But yeah, so ourlastenemy.com is the one. That's probably the best place to get anything else. We will have probably next few months, we've got a few announcements, and which I can't say anything about yet. But yeah, there is more coming. And we've got stuff in the bag waiting. We had to put on hold for COVID, which will be coming out. Which, I think it's pretty good. I might be biased.
So. Yeah. Well, look.
But yeah, it's all getting there.
When things are ramping up a little bit, we'll get you back on, and we can have a conversation, maybe a little bit more centered around the band. You can do some more promo stuff and whatever. That would be really cool. But
sounds like a plan.
Until then, obviously, we'll keep in touch. But as always, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. I hope you're doing well. And look, I'm really excited for the future of the band. Really, really excited.
Awesome. Cheers, man. It's been good to finally see that face again. And
likewise.
Love the hair.
Thank you.
The hair.
Thank you.
So,
I will. I'll keep it for the foreseeable. Yeah, for the foreseeable.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, my friend. I will speak to you soon.
All right. See ya.
Cheers, mate.